Hey everybody, Vinny SOB, and I'm here to do the official Doctrine overview for the new Wikinger Soviet Doctrine, and it is the 13th Guards Rifle Corps. I did a quick little 8-minute video about it, kind of showcasing some of the cool things that were going to be in it. But we'll do a full Doctrine overview here. You've already seen some of the items, so a lot of this won't be too new to you. But let's start off with the buildings as usual. When you pick this doctrine, you're going to see the very standard stuff that you normally have here: your trucks, your medic, machine gun team, headquarters, all this other stuff. Regular conscripts, your riflemen. The only difference you're going to see here is now you have this WC-51 50 cal Lend-Lease truck. So it's a Dodge 50 cal, but with the Soviet 50 cal on it. Now you can't open this, just like with the headquarters. You have to have your third building open, so your support weapons company. So don't worry about people rushing those out. There's been some changes to these trucks. Even in the U.S. doctrine, everyone, I know how hard that was. Even that's been changed. In your second building, you're going to have some of your standard stuff, your officer, mortar team, 50 cal, sniper weapons team, your light anti-tank gun. And then you do have a couple of different things. Now, something here, I've unlocked, well, for starters, I've unlocked everything because even on easy, the AI was putting up a fight, like sending panthers at me and stuff, so I had to unlock these things. But a few of these things won't be available until you unlock them. And we're going to start off, the officer you can build right off the bat. And I highly recommend you do build an officer quickly. Because you see there's the upgrade there for the officer training program. Okay, normally you would be able to build just one officer. You can use him for supervising. He does have some officer charge, and he can withdraw units, and he can fight. It's a 3-man squad. But what happens is, once you unlock this ability here on the tech tree, your advanced tactical officer training, you're able to now build 3 total officers here. Okay, the thing is, they're going to come out as 4-man squads. Let's go find him. Where is he? I think this is him right here. So they'll come out then as 4-man squads, and they're going to be basically assault squads. You see they have PPSHs. They've got, it looks like maybe an SVT-40, and they do have, looks like a stolen, oh no, I don't know what that is exactly. Maybe an MP40 stolen. So anyway, these guys come out, and you can see they have abilities. For the Rodina, it's a 15-second, suppression breaker, just like kind of the officer charge thing. They will get an anti-tank grenade, and they still can withdraw troops, and that's because if you convert them all, let's say you kept one like this, or when you bring them in, and let's say you converted all of them, you still want to be able to withdraw your troops. So I keep one, I build one before I do the ability, because once you do this ability, all of your officers, it's only 1 point too, so it's an early one to do pretty good, early on. But all your officers will come out as the 4-man squads. It's not that they come out and then you can upgrade them. They will all come out as the 4-man squads, which will not be able to supervise. Supervising may not be that important because there's call-ins in this doctrine, but either way, I build an officer right away before I unlock that power. So anyway, back to that building. You also have here, you'll see your shock troops. These are your storm group. These are your shock troops, and I do have one built here. They very similar to what they used to be. They do have now satchel and the bundle grenade. They do get a Panzerfaust 60. This is important because otherwise you have no way to fight tanks with these guys. You know what I mean? They don't go invisible or anything. They don't camouflage. And that's probably too because they have a flamethrower, so it'd be kind of hard to camouflage with a flamethrower. But it'd be kind of cool maybe if you didn't unlock the flamethrower on them, that you would be able to go camouflage. That would be cool. But at any rate, so these guys are badass. You know that. They go up to level 4. They're shock troops. They have smoke. They can assault, do all kinds of fun stuff. And you can build 2 of them. I have one on the field. There's 2. See, limit of 2 at a time. The other thing you have on here is your aviation liaison. And what this guy is another unlock on the tech tree, and he's going to be in your air support. And what he does, he lets you call in airstrikes. So, and I kind of showed you this before. So here he is, a 3-man squad, not made for fighting. He's got a little radio thing here you put on. And he can call in. He gets the free recon. So even before you unlock his airstrike that attacks tanks, you'll get his recon. You will also get his anti-infantry strafe, and it's cheap. It's only 125, and you know, it's definitely a good ability to have. I'll just call it in here and let it strafe around. But you know, it's just like the Luftwaffe's infantry strafe or the airborne or any of the others. You know, it's a good strafe. There are obviously some cool skins here on these Soviet planes that were done, so that's pretty cool. But it's purely an infantry strafe. It's pretty cheap, but this will get you. Obviously, German troops are, especially over Commando West, are pretty tough. So sometimes you can use this early on to, you know, just get the troops off you if they're assaulted. It's a pretty nice thing. But as you can see, it's not doing, you know, tons of damage or anything. It didn't blow up a little medic thing there. Anyway, so there you go. That building, that's everything in that building. So really, like I said, your things you have to unlock, they won't be available initially, are your shock troops. You're gonna need, you know, your air guy, and then you have the officer, which you can get multiple of once you unlock it on the tech tree. In your third building, which is you need for the 50 cal items, you're gonna have a 50 cal Lend-Lease universal carrier. I have one on the field, I believe. And this is also your vision piece. You know, very cool. Obviously, I kind of showed this off last time. So it's a 50 cal, and it is a vision piece. You can't make it hold fire, but when it is firing, it's not working as a vision piece. So just be aware of that. It does have pretty good line of sight, so it's good to, you know, you can see how far it sees. It's good to keep it back and where it's not going to be fighting if you're actually using it for vision. You have your ambulance, regular half-track, or whatever their crazy, you know, half-track type thing they have. You do have your anti-air, which is a quad 50. You do have a Lend-Lease, what is this, the Stuart, which is cool here. You can put it in, you can get a tank commander, Soviet tank commander upgrade. Skins are real cool. I've showed you this already, but it is neat to see the Lend-Lease, you know, light tank here in this Doctrine, and you get the Katyusha in this Doctrine as well. So, which is a mobile arty piece. I have it right here. The range, it doesn't have tremendous range. You see, this is not a big map, but I'm not that far from their base, and you can see where this back line is. It's super inaccurate, but you can use it for smoke as well, which is pretty cool. I don't know what the timer difference is when you use it for smoke. I'm actually just going to check it out to see. But, and I want to see really what this does. I've never actually used the smoke. Alright, so that's a pretty good smoke screen. Now I wonder what the cooldown is. 101. Okay, so the cooldown's definitely a lot less. You use the smoke, it's not like using one of these others that you got a very long cooldown. Alright, so that's, and you have your limit of 120 millimeter mortar team, which does have to be unlocked here. Okay, and so does the Katyusha have to be unlocked. So this 120 millimeter mortar team is very deadly. I have it on hold fire right now. You can see it has pretty decent range. Goes all the way out to here, so it, you know, it'll cover pretty far. It's got farther range than the Katyusha. It's a really deadly piece. It's just 120 millimeter mortar, so it's similar to like the U.S. Infantry has that mortar pit. It's going to be similar to that. It's going to do a lot of damage. It's going to be a deadly thing, and there's some other things you could do with it, but we'll get into that in a minute. And again, that's in your third building, so this isn't something that's coming out early, and it is 400 manpower with 100 munitions, so you know, it's not cheap. I mean, it costs more than even like the Soviet, or I'm sorry, the Wehrmacht's mortar truck, you know, or the, I guess that's actually Oberkommando. But at any rate, let that go on here. So if you look in the third building, your tank, your mechanized armor company here, you do start off able to build the M4A2 75mm Sherman, and it's like a standard M4A3 Sherman, except it just has a Soviet skin. It has the same abilities that that Sherman has. You just can't get bulldozers or anything on it, but it's got really super cool skins like all the rest here. They just did a great job. Starbucks, did a great job on these. I need these to show them off, so I gotta get them out of there real quick. I swear to God, every time I start doing a video, these guys decide they want to attack me. You see, it's been an hour and 55. Not doing it with the beta is a lot harder because I have to actually build up all the points, and this is one of the units I'll be showing off. I don't know why it's not shooting. There we go. Jesus. Yeah, it must be a hill there. Look at that. Ouch. Come on, man. There we go. At any rate, let's get that back because I need to show you that too. Hey, what are you doing? I put it in reverse. I guess I can't go around there. Moron. Alright, well, no smoke screen on this thing. One of the problem with Soviet tanks, man, no smoke screen can make your life kind of difficult, you know? But, yeah, let's just blow that thing up real quick. Back it up. Just stop right there. Oh, shit, I can't turn it once it's in that mode. Okay, well, whatever. That's an unintentional consequence of not doing this with, like, a friend or something. Anyway, so you do start off with this M4. You can build those off the bat. You can build your Su-76, and you can have the 76mm anti-tank gun. Now, you see here you also have KVs, okay? The KVs do have to be unlocked on the tech tree. We're going to go over the tech tree here in a minute, but there is an unlock for that, and then it gives you access to both KVs. You can build, I don't know how many KV-1s, I don't think there's any limit to KV-1s, but the KV-8, the flamethrower tank, there's a limit of 1. And that's something new in Wikinger. They're limiting all the flame tanks to 1 because it's, Wikinger flame is a very deadly thing. It does tons of damage. So that's all your armor. And that's all except for the very last building, the tank battalion. You have your IS-1, and you can build a limit of 2 of these. And these are IS-1s. Now I just showed you this thing. It has to be unlocked on the tech tree. It's heavily armored, but it only has the 85mm gun. So this is not as deadly as a KV-2 by any stretch. It does fire a little quicker than a KV-1, which is nice, or a KV-2, which is nice, but it is not the monster that the KV-2 is. So let's bring these guys back. So there you have it. That's what's in the buildings, and again, a lot of the stuff has to be unlocked. So what we're going to do is go down the tech tree real quick. You have an armor portion of the tech tree. You have a kind of an infantry portion, and I was kind of showing this off a little in my first video. You do have an air support part, and then you have an artillery part, okay? So going down the tech tree, we've kind of, or the armor part of the tech tree, the first thing you get, and it's 2 points, is your KV chassis unlock. The next thing you have is your tank destroyer artillery dispatch, and I kind of showed this off. Now this is an interesting ability here. It shows an Su-85, but this ability, which is 800 now to call in, well, it's been 800 actually, this tank destroyer is you have there's an RNG element to it. You don't know what you're going to get. You have two different things you can get here. You can either get 2 veteran Su-85s or 2 M10 tank destroyers. So that's a little bit RNG. M10s are great and all, but you know, I'd argue the Su-85 is better for the most part. For just a pure tank destroyer. Plus, this does come with the tracking ability, so you know, you can see the stuff in the fog of war, and these things just have great range. So, you know, these are badass, you know, tank destroyers. So now again, you can get the M10s instead, which they're not bad. Obviously, you've used M10s, you know, they're a little faster and things like that, but they're just not as good of a pure tank destroyer. Even at $800, though, $400 for an M10, you know, not necessarily your favorite thing. Now, this is important because there's no fuel cost on these, okay? And that will play a factor, as you'll see once I go over some more of these abilities. Okay? So let's go back to the tech tree. The next thing you have, which is another 2, is the Independent Tank Brigade Dispatch. I've already unlocked it, of course. And that's another call-in here. Now, here you have a random call-in. It's another RNG call-in of 2 Sherman 76ers or a Churchill Mark IV and a Valentine with a Brent carrier as well. Another RNG. Now here, I think they're both pretty good. I prefer 76ers. Well, just like in my first video, I ended up with the Lend-Lease British stuff. So as I showed you last time, you have a 75mm Valentine, a Brent carrier, which is, this one is not a vision piece. It's as far as I know, just an assault piece. And then you get, you know, the Mark IV, which isn't as good as the Mark V. But it does also come with a set of tank riders, which is a pretty cool thing. These guys, I think, have an anti-tank grenade. Let's see, let's get them off here real quick. No, just stop. No. I did the slow exit way. Yeah, so these guys get a tank grenade, they can get a assault grenade thing. So these guys, they're 5-man squad. They're not horrible by any stretch, and I think they even have PPSHs too. So, you know, they're pretty good, actually. So again, this call-in isn't necessarily worse. I don't think it's better against tanks, but this is a little bit better against tanks and infantry because you just have more options there with it. So again, either call-in is not a bad thing. They do not cost fuel, and it's, you know, for 400 points, for whether it's 76ers or this dispatch, you know, 400 points a unit, you're really getting a good bang for the buck. You know, you can't complain about that. So, alright. Move these guys up a bit, just in case they call out a panther or a tiger or something. There we go. Yeah, so this call-in's pretty cool. Let's move these guys up a bit. Right over here. Okay. Back to the tech tree. And the last thing on the armor portion of the tech tree is your IS-1. So in order to even get the IS-1, you've got to spend 2, 4, 6. You're spending 8 points. And you have to have all the buildings unlocked, of course. You know, so you're not going to get this stuff too easily. And even the tank call-in, you know, again, you're going to have to invest 6 points to even get there, which means you're avoiding doing other stuff. So, you know, this is a doctrine, as I said in my first video, which is pretty unique insofar as it does a lot of things pretty well. So you know, you have to pick and choose what works against what you're playing against and what works for you. You know, works best for you in this situation. So, looking down at the biggest portion of the tech tree here, which is really more your specialty troops. You start off right here in the center, which again is that officer upgrade, which once it's only 1 point, so it's usually an early upgrade. It's something you can use pretty early on. Probably it's the thing you can use most early on. So I unlock it early because it gets me access to the next upgrade to the right here, which is something else you can use early on. It's award your riflemen that have distinguished themselves in combat with guards status. So this is 2 points, and what this does is it allows you to take your regular ass, these, Soviet riflemen, even though you have some really nice loadouts with them, they only work kind of well if they're in mass and in cover, really. They don't hold up to the German troops. They just don't, especially the Wehrmacht, or I'm sorry, the Oberkommando West. They don't hold up against them very well. So you have to get these guys, with some good loadouts. Now, one cool thing, just like with the other doctrines that are out, the Soviet guys, you can either go with an assault pack or a defensive pack, and you can get the anti-tank rifle. And this is something, as I mentioned, I believe in the first video, you do not have a dedicated anti-tank squad in this. You don't even have like an anti-tank rifle guy. So this is it. You're going to be using your riflemen to do this, or you're going to be building some light anti-tank guns straight away. So it takes a little while to get all the way up to getting these big tank guns out. So again, these guys have lots of different upgrades you could do with them, which is cool. You get, the assault or defensive pack. Now and you can see here, it's locked. You have to be a veteran level 2 to unlock the guards infantry. So this is, again, these officers come in very handy that offer you extra experience, which I guess that group of them I had out here, because they are aggressive, these officers, I've noticed. They like run out. They really want to kill stuff. So it looks like they got killed off because they ran up and got wiped out. But what I've done here, you can see these are all guards troops. And these guards troops that I have, I put all of them on the anti-tank roll. And that's another thing that can help here. When you get the guards troops, you have the option of going with either the Soviet upgrade pack, which is some 4 SVT-40s and I think it's one of these, whatever the hell those guns are here. What is it? The DP. So it's really a pure infantry killing. And when you go with you get Lend-Lease weapons if you go with the American pack, which gives you the bazooka and the 4 Thompsons. But it's good up close and it's good against vehicles, so it does become an anti-tank squad. So again, you have options here. You can, once you start getting these guys built up, you start getting some good troops. And again, when you put those political officers out with them, they go up in level pretty fast, so you can get your guards troops. So you'll notice the next thing to the right is a really kick-ass troop. I went over these guys a little bit in the last video. They're the 13 Guards Rifles Dispatch, which I have already out. They're 550. Nice bang for the buck for long distance. And here they go up to level 5. So these are your highest level troops you get. They are purely long range and up close and personal for tanks. You can see they have an anti-tank grenade. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but it can scare them away. You know how it works. And then you have the anti-tank assault. Now that'll do some damage to them. But really, these guys are great because they're just so good at long range. They have all SVT-40s and a sniper rifle built right into the group. The only problem with this sniper rifle built into the group is if you need to heal them. And they have a DP. So they're great at long range. But they will keep firing, even when you try to get them the hell out of dodge to try to let them heal up. Even if you put extra guys on them, they're just constantly popping off because they have great range with that sniper rifle. But they're a really cool troop. Something runs up on them, flamethrowers and stuff. I mean, they can try to cut them down from a distance, but if they don't get them quick enough, these guys have no up-close fighting ability whatsoever. So just be aware of that. Okay, so that's the top track, except for if you go to the left, you do have the mobilize the reserves. So what this thing is here, it's 3 points. It is and I have it right here, you get 500 manpower now for 200 manpower loss over 5 minutes. Now initially you could use this, and it does cost 150 fuel now, which I believe it did in the last video too, because they had been tweaking this. Initially, you could just call it in. It was 130 fuel, I believe, and you could just call it in over. I mean, you could just get anything on the, you build a bunch of fuel depots, and this was like unlimited use of this. So who cares about losing manpower over time if you're just constantly using this ability? Now they have it where you can only use it twice, so they've changed it. So yeah, you can get 1,000 manpower. You're going to lose all your fuel. It might recover quickly if you have a bunch of fuel depots out, but now you see you can only use it twice. So if you look here, they mentioned manpower income is in use. So it will, and I believe it's going to be 5 minutes before you can use it again. Now I used them right next to each other. I believe it's 5 minutes. I don't know the exact time, but you don't get to use them again for a while after using the 2 of them. So that has nerfed that quite a bit, but it is a quick 1,000 manpower, which can help you get some. Number one, it can get you one of these call-ins. That's why I said without needing fuel, this is why these are great, because they're 800 manpower. So you do that two of those manpower reserves, you can call either one of these in instantly, with no, as long as you have the space for it in your pop cap, which you should. So anyway, it's great. Again, you will have to have your buildings open to be able to use these call-ins too. You can't just go in and get these unlocks for these tanks and stuff and just build them. You need to have your tank buildings upgraded. And I believe for this second one here, the tank call-in, not the tank destroyer, but the tank call-in, you have to have your last building, I believe, unlocked as well. So that's not going to be anything calling in early, even if you have the manpower for it. Okay. Back to the tech tree. Something with the guards troops. When you see that has its own little branch here. With the guards troops, you can only do the Soviet pack, which does not fight tanks, assuming you want to upgrade the weapons. I mean, when you upgrade them, you have weapons on them, but assuming you want to upgrade them to make them a pure, you can only put the Soviet stuff unless you spend 1 extra point to get the Lend-Lease American weapons. But again, these really help against vehicles, and they're great up close with all the Thompsons. You might at least want to have this extra point in here just so you could have some really anti-tank capabilities, because the light anti-tank guns, they can do damage to light stuff, obviously. And you can see I had to have a bunch of them out there because, early, just to stop the scout cars and stuff. Because even those rifles you can upgrade your regular rifleman with will not, they might scare a scout car off, but they're not going to take them out too easy. And because there's been a big buff to anti-air half-tracks and stuff, you need to kill those things quick because they are going to chew guys up. So, anyway, back to the tech tree. So that's it. So there's your rifle guards. It ends over there in the 13th. Now, going down below here, you can see the arrows below the officer. You could spend an additional 3 points to get the storm troop, or the storm group, which are the shock troops, whatever you want to call them, which are in the second building. So again, these are another good way to go. These guys are super badass, as we've discussed. You can build 2 of them. They have a flamethrower. They go up to level 4. They can really kick some ass. Which is great. Now, they cannot fight tanks, though, initially. You have to go ahead and, again, spend another point to get these additional weapons on them. So when you have a storm troop, let me find them here. I'm sorry, the shock troop. Initially, all you're going to have on it is upgrade them with a flamethrower and a medic kit. They will have a regular grenade, a smoke grenade, and that's it. So to get the bundle grenades, and really the most important thing, the RPG, or I'm sorry, the Panzerfaust 60, and of course your satchel charge. But to get this, you have to do the next upgrade, sort of like the Jaegers from I believe it's the Scorched Earth from Oberkommando West, right? You can build those Jaegers and they're great and everything, but until you do that extra upgrade to give them like the breaching charges and all the rest of the crap and the PPSHs and all that, they're only so good. So this does really improve their effectiveness. So that leaves us with the last 2 here, parts of the tech tree. We have the the air, which we've already taken a look at, but there is also the flying tank to perform the bombing runs. So basically what it is, it's just a strafing run. It's a little bit better one, it seems. And damn, again, there's just no tanks out there. But it's just, so when you call it in, here's the one with the little plane on it. It does do the strafing run. This is 280, so it's a lot more expensive than the 125. But these are going to come in, and they're going to do the strafing, plus they're going to do a bombing run. And the way the bombs work in this, damn, I really wish there was a vehicle here. They drop like butterfly bombs, kind of. They're that kind of bombing run. And there's another Doctrine that has a bombing run. Maybe it's the Luftwaffe Doctrine, where the guy kind of dives down and he drops like a whole crap ton of these bombs, and they just explode all over. And yeah, they will one-shot a Tiger. I've seen it happen when that bombing run hits them, and they will hunt. It's the other thing, like the U.S. Air Doc and like some of the others, they will actually hunt down the vehicle you clicked on when you brought in the ability. So it's a really, that's your best tank killer out of anything. Along, you know, you're gonna have I'll call it. Like I said, there's not really much to hit with it, but maybe a tank will roll in just by chance. But it's your best defense against tanks, honestly. These other things are great. I mean, KVs, you know, they can hold their own again, you know, just because they're heavily armored. You know, IS-1s are pretty good, but I mean, your Panthers can do some serious damage to the IS-1s. I'd argue they're probably better. They fire faster, they're quicker. So, yeah, it looks like they aren't even going to bring out half-track. But you can see how all these planes are strafing at once. It's a much better attack, and it's, you know, more than twice the cost. Yeah, there's nothing to bomb. So the one that bombs, he's just circling, looking around. He's the one you can't see until he dives down. Yep, unfortunately, we won't get to see it. I actually did it more to kind of take a look at what they've done with the cooldown. Oh, it's active. So that's 131 seconds. So that's not too bad. As soon as this is okay, 127 seconds, 130 seconds after it's done. It's not that bad. That's only a couple of minutes. So yeah, not too shabby. But that is going to really benefit you. You know, in late game against big cats, because it's going to be one of the only ways you're going to be able to fight them. You could try to cook them out with your, you know, and use Panzerfaust and things like that on them, but you have no invisible troops here. The only ones that can even camouflage are the 13th Guard, and they don't camouflage and you can sneak them around. They can just camouflage when they're in cover, but they rarely stay camouflaged because they're always shooting at something. And again, they have only anti-tank grenades, so you know, they're like a last-ditch effort to try to stop a tank. All right, so that's the air, and then you have your, and this is actually interesting. This is another good starting unlock here. It's the spotter piece. Now, the spotter piece, I have two of them out there. They're a one-man squad, so they get killed really easy if they get discovered. But let me turn off there. They can not only use binoculars to see as a spotter piece, but they can do the evasive action. So you can creep them in pretty close. And here's one right here. And the great thing with these spotters, again, they spot. So if you are using mortars or doing whatever you're doing, or just trying to see what's going on, spotters are great. Plus they can call in an artillery flare, which is very nice to try to, you know, highlight an area, or behind, you know, there's houses and you might think there might be tanks back there or something, you know. So that's how that works. Now, once you have these guys and you have mortar teams on the field, you have to have mortar teams on the field to use this. You can call in your victory target smoke barrage, and you can call in a victory target HE barrage. Again, you need mortar teams on the field to use these. So something interesting they've done. The 120 millimeter mortar here, and that's not it. It's back here. it has its own abilities, right? It has fire smoke barrage, fire a flare, precision mortar barrage, which it fires several, actually. It's an actual barrage, and then it has the saturation barrage. These things, once I use this, like I have it on hold fire now, but let's see, it's got nice range. I'm just going to have it fire there. I think with hold fire, if you click a barrage, it'll still do it. It will. Okay. And let's look at the spotter now. Now you see, when you use that 120 millimeter mortar, it locks out the ability to use the spotter piece. Okay, so that's pretty cool. It did nerf it. You can't like double, excuse me. You can't double stack it. You can't, you know, do like you used to be able to do with it. So that's a, you know, pretty nice that it they did that. They tied the timers in. Okay, so the other thing is when you do call this spotter piece in, an interesting thing with it, you get 2 of them. They're a call in here. See, when you unlock it, it's a call in. So what it does is it dispatches a universal carrier with 2 of these guys in it. So that's where this universal carrier came from. I brought it in. It had 2 of these one-man spotters in it. I just separated them and sent them in different parts of the map so I could see. Okay, so that's how that worked. It was all part of the call-in. It's 280, and it gives you just, you know, great vision. That's what it does. And once you have mortar teams, it does something great by giving you the ability to mortar the living shit out of them. So again, the mortars are on hold fire, so they're not going to fire once the barrage is done. Now what's interesting is, and I want to see if this still works. In fact, let me do this. Where are you at, mortar team? There we go. Okay, so what used to happen is you could fire from the base. Now I don't know if this is still going to work. I just want to check it. These guys are so gosh damn slow. They are closer to the base, so my hope is they'll just retreat to the base. Don't you dare retreat up. Okay, good. So here we go. We have mortar teams in the base. Alright. Just move them over here. Now, and mortar teams, by the way, I think I told you this last time, you could build, no, let's not build it there. Oh, building. Yeah, okay. You can build 3 at a time. Well, 2 regular mortars and 1 of these big ones. So, now that the thing's cooled down, and this cools down pretty quick actually. See, this is, you can make this kind of an arty dock. Once you get that big mortar out, it's pretty handy. So let's see. These guys have pretty decent range, you know, these spotters. I wish it made a thing on the ground, but it doesn't. You just have to look at the mini-map here and see the red circle. So, I'm going to call this in from here, and let's see if they move up or if they still fire from the base. He's radioing it in. No, they're going to set up right here. So as you can see, these mortar teams, I mean, it's nice to have mortar teams up front to actually help you, because they're not going to be able to help you from back here unless you're using that ability. You know, and it is 75 munitions, so that's something you're going to be doing. You know, this isn't, even though it's powerful, it's not something you're going to be able to just continuously do over and over. At 75 munitions, when you're trying to upgrade your, you know, your troops and do all this other crap, right? So, at any rate. But you can see it's very effective. It can be used, especially if you have all 3 mortar teams out there. It can be very effective as an arty, kind of an arty dock. Okay, and of course you have Katusha, which is in line with this arty dock. So the next thing after the spotter would be this 120 millimeter mortar unlock. It's 2 more points on top of the one, and again, it's expensive and you can't unlock it till late, And then you have, lastly, the Katyusha. So again, these things aren't something you can get out straight away. That's 3 points. The mortar's 2. And again, you have to have these. You have to have these. You're in the 3rd building to even be able to do this. And they're not cheap. I mean, this stuff is not cheap. The Katyusha, 70 fuel, 65 munitions, and 530 manpower. So even if you do your little manpower blitz, you're going to be sucking up a bunch of fuel, and you're going to, you know, the munitions, you're going to be using them on a lot of stuff. So, and this one's 400 with 100 munitions. But there you have it. That's the Doctrine as a whole. That's all the different unlocks you have. It is a really well-rounded Doctrine. I think its only real weakness that I see is early game, your standard troops are just absolute dog crap. That's why they're getting those political officers out. It's nice. It's very helpful to try to get those guys up and look at that. That Katyusha didn't hit shit. It's crappy. So it can hit stuff, but it didn't hit anything. But you're going to suffer early because, again, your troops are pretty weak. So until you get them up to guards troops and you can actually put some, you know, or you get a ton of weapons on the standard guys, you're going to have some troubles against, you know, the Wehrmacht or the Oberkommando. But it is extremely well-rounded because you do have a nice selection of armor, whether it be Soviet or Lend-Lease. There is some RNG, but really the RNG it's not as bad as like if you've played the U.S. Infantry doc. They have the not the Crazy Road Show. What's it called? It's not Cloud Circus. I forget what the hell it's called. You know what I mean? There's the one at the Ragtag Circus. That's what it is. And it's a cool, super cool, awesome call-in. But you get what, like a Panzer IV, a Stug, or a Panther. You don't know what you're going to get, and it's a lot of money, and there's a big disparity between a Panzer IV Stug and a Panther. You get the Panther, you've hit the jackpot, right? Which it isn't as important now because they later added a jumbo to that Doctrine, which that one had a huge weakness against vehicles because all you had was Rangers really, or you know, bazookas that can't penetrate the big cats. So, you know, but that one you call in, it's still a good one. You get some good, you know, troops with it and stuff. But it's not like these. These, the only real downside on the RNG here is you're going to get 2 M10s, but they are veteran M10s, and I just think you have the Su-85s are better overall. But 2 M10s is not horrible, especially because they're vets. So again, the disparity here between like the RNG is not nearly as bad as something like Ragtag Circus. So, but at any rate, that's the doc. I think it's good. I think it's super good. The nerfing they've done to it, like with this manpower upgrade and other things, is great because I thought it was a little overpowered initially. And I guess we'll have to see. You know, we'll see how it plays out in PvP, and you know, what people are thinking about it. But if nothing else, it's extremely well-rounded. It has a little bit of everything once you get it going. And again, its only weakness, I think, is early game because the riflemen aren't as good. And then late game, it can be rough when big cats are out and maybe you don't have the planes. Or I've had, you know, like a King Tiger come out and a Tiger, and the damn things are blowing smoke. And so the smoke will prevent the airstrike from being able to hit it, at least for a while, and it'll just search out another vehicle. And you know, you get a King Tiger rolling in, your IS-1 isn't going to do shit. It's too slow. It's not going to do anything to it really. It might get lucky if you hit it from the side. You're never going to get around it. It's just too slow of a vehicle. Your KVs are way too slow. You know, the Churchill's super slow. That's why the 276ers are way better against, you know, the King Tigers and shit, because 276ers will tear a King Tiger up if it's not supported well enough, but they can get around it. And you know, these 75s, you can get it from the back. These are fast. They'll get around it. You could do, you know, you can tear up a King Tiger with a number of these much cheaper tanks, as long as you can get around it. You know, maybe run up some shock troops on it and burn it. But that's it. You know, you don't have anything that's really a King Tiger killer or an Elephant killer. Your airstrike is about it. So, but that's it. That's all I have to say about it. If you have any questions or comments, you know, leave them below. And I look forward to seeing people's videos, you know, especially PvP, using this doctrine, see how it works out. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.